Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I will be discussing a retrospective discussing the Star Trek The Fall series, which was released in late 2013. Now, as many Star Trek readers will know, the Star Trek literary universe is coming to an end as we know it with the new Coda trilogy, which is releasing in the months of September, October, and November. I decided to do some videos talking about some of the best and most impactful series that came out of this post-Nemesis universe. And I previously did one about the Star Trek Destiny trilogy, which you can find on my channel. And today I will be talking about The Fall. Now, to kind of explain the backdrop of this series came after a couple of years of publishing that really ramped up the post-Nemesis universe. After Destiny, which shook everything just went to pieces after Destiny, and the authors had to kind of pick them all up. And so you had this line of novels, which was about 8 or 9 novels, called The Typhon Pact, which really showed the rise of this rival group to the Federation, featuring the Tholians, featuring the Romulans and others, and the Gorn, which was the Typhon Pact, and you saw their rise in those novels. And then this was a 5-book series released in consecutive months. So they were released one right after the other. 5 books by 5 different authors, all at once. And the goal of these books was to energize the fan base and also to tell one big story in 5 different chunks. And what made this interesting was this was coming around the time that the next Kelvin movie was coming out, the Kelvin Timeline movie, Into Darkness. And so at the beginning of the year, they did a bunch of TOS novels. I think they did like 6 TOS novels. And then they decided that the end of the year would just be The Fall. And so they got 5 top-notch Star Trek authors for The Fall. And they decided to do an inciting incident where there was an Archduke Ferdinand moment. If you don't know what that means, basically Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated, and that was the prelude to World War I. That was the inciting incident because his death caused all these countries to declare war on each other. And as a result, it's one death would cause such huge problems worldwide in real life. What would happen in the Star Trek universe if that happened? And so a certain person in Star Trek is assassinated, and the first book, and that has ripple effects on the future books. And so this series is following that big event. And I'll just have to say that this series is both entirely successful and unsuccessful at fulfilling its purpose. Where it was successful was in the hype and in the action and in the big scope of the story. This story is huge, and there's so much happening, and you follow so many different characters and plot lines, and it really is a true crossover series in the most epic sense of the term. However, the stories at times can feel so disconnected that it doesn't feel like an actual series. It feels like a bunch of standalone novels that are taking place at the same time in the universe. For my case in point, the first book, Revelation in Dust, which in my opinion is the weakest book in the bunch, sets up the whole event. And then The Crimson Shadow follows Elim Garak as his political stuff. I can't go into spoilers, but his political stuff happens on Cardassia, and it's just on Cardassia. And there are references to what happens here, but it's totally different characters Then you have the third book, which is A Ceremony of Losses. And this was written by David Mack, famous Star Trek author. And this book follows Julian Bashir as he tries to solve the Andor problem, which I'll get into in a second. And this book follows the overall thrust of the books, but really almost reads like a standalone. And then you have The Poison Chalice, where the series starts to feel cohesive, and then Peaceable Kingdoms, which in reality ties everything together. But the problem is that some of the novels really tie well together, some of them don't, and so as a series, it's just not as cohesive as something like Destiny or Prey or any other Star Trek trilogy. However, some of the individual books here are so good that it's okay that they don't connect because the story and the themes are just that amazing. And so it is kind of a push and pull in that, there are things I like from Destiny better, but there's also things I like from The Fall better, and I'm like, if I could just combine them. Part of the reason that I think it doesn't work as cohesively is because they had 5 different authors, and so these authors had very different visions. For example, Revelation and Dust follows the reopening of the new Deep Space Nine station. But David R. George, who is one of the primary Deep Space Nine authors for Star Trek, decided that this also needed to be like a reset for the DS9 story, and so it follows a certain DS9 character whose story has absolutely nothing to do with the main events of this book. It's got an A plot, which is great, and a B plot, which has nothing to do with anything else, and they never meet, and it's very frustrating. And that's why I think that this book is the weakest of the bunch. Then you have something like The Crimson Shadow, which I think is one of the best Star Trek books in terms of political overtones. It asks hard questions from a historical perspective of, okay, what was rebuilding like after World War I and World War II in Europe? What was rebuilding Germany like? And how did we do things wrong? And how can we do things right? And there's so many questions, and it's just all about Cardassia. If you like Cardassia, you're going to like this book. And it's just the deeper themes are on a whole other level in this book. And then you have David Mack's book, which has to do with government secrets and has to do with uncovering government secrets. And I disagree with Mack on a lot of the points he makes, but he makes them so well that his writing makes it okay that I disagree with him because his story is so good and his themes are so well explained. And the villain in this book is just, you want to punch him. He's so annoying. And this book has a lot to do with medical crises and has to do with science and how do you trust science and how when is it okay to overstep authority and cross boundaries. And then you have The Poison Chalice, which was by James Swallow, and this book is a political action thriller. It is just pure like Mission Impossible in space almost. Riker. This one follows Riker and the Titan as they get called back to Earth from their Beta Quadrant stuff, and he's given an assignment he doesn't really want, but he will do, and the B plot in this book actually does connect to the A plot, and it's just so exciting. And then Dayton Ward just wraps everything up, puts a nice little bow on it. It's so nice, and you finally get some closure on the villain and on the heroes as well. And so you have this big epic 5-book series that individually is all separated, but then comes together at the end. And it's just so well done. And I absolutely loved reading these books. I'm so disappointed that I wasn't reading these books when they were coming out back in 2013, because I would have just been so excited month by month by month. And each one of these books hit the New York Times list, and it's amazing that they all did so. And I am very impressed by the caliber that each author presented. And I hope that in the future, Star Trek is able to do these types of epic series again. Whether it's something like Vanguard, where you just have 2 authors alternating, or whether you have The Fall, where you have 5 authors, or you have Destiny, which is just 1 author writing a trilogy. I hope we can do series that are epic crossovers like this, because it truly it enlarges the scale and scope of the story and makes it all exciting and interesting and absolutely wonderful. And so I highly recommend this series, and I think that this is one of, if not one of the best Star Trek series ever created, and I think it will stand the test of time among the fans and among the critics. And so if you're interested in getting into Star Trek books, I highly recommend this series. And if you're wanting some essential books to read in the lead up to the end of Coda, I would highly recommend this series, as it has a lot of connections. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video and comment down below your thoughts on The Fall. Tell me which of these books was your favorite, and did you really enjoy this series, or did you not? Do you have other series you prefer more? Comment down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.